wanted to share a story about one of the scarier, if not the scariest thing that's happened to me on dialysis. Um, but before I jump right into what happened and how it happened, I think I should go into a little bit of background information about the tech and myself and how I am at the clinic, and that I did have a part in this in a way. I've kind of learned about myself as a patient and how I affect the situation a little bit more. Not saying that it was my fault in any way or it was okay, but just that there are politics on the floor. And if I'm making a tech uncomfortable because I'm uncomfortable, then we're both uncomfortable and it's not going to help the situation. And then that's where things start to have difficulty. There are politics on the floor. If you're not a dialysis patient, then it's a little hard to explain what it's really like in the clinic between the patients, the techs, and the nurses. There's definitely hierarchy, and it's kind of hard to explain. In a way, it feels like going back to high school almost. There's a lot of posturing. Like, some people like to be the better, or I guess there is the better tech on the floor, and then there's the tech that you don't really want because they're just new or whatever reason. So in this situation, this tech was a very capable tech. Kind of a little bit, I guess you could say, actually technically almost overqualified for the job. She was a phlebotomist. Most techs are not phlebotomists, amazingly enough. You'd think they would need to be to deal with needles like that, but they're not. And she kind of let everybody else know that she was a phlebotomist pretty consistent. Like, she kind of didn't let anybody forget that, and kind of acted a little big. So her and I got along with her, but at the same time, we weren't like best of friends. And I'm kind of the person at the clinic that they take a little time for the new person to come around and stuff. So like, everybody's like, I'm gonna let you know if you messed up. You know what I mean? I'm gonna say something. So like, we were talking, I don't remember what we were talking about, and she puts my needles in and goes to flush the line, hooks up the saline syringe, because you take the line and you flush it with saline before you hook up the dialysis machine, so that you don't rinse air into the patient. But she forgot to draw the blood down the line, down the needle line, and flushed a full needle line of air into my arm. And I looked at her and was like, "Where'd that air go?" And she said, "What? You didn't flush the line." And she started kind of stuttering and froze. And I kind of froze and sat there and was like, how much air does it take to kill me? So for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about as far as dialysis, this is a dialysis needle. 15 gauge, big old needle. So you put that in the arm, and then you draw the blood down the line, hook it up to a saline syringe, and flush it. And she did not draw the blood down the line. So she flushed this whole line of air into my arm. I want to say it's like 10 milliliters, basically a syringe, a 10 cc syringe, I guess. I guess I should know my numbers better on that. So yeah, I'm sitting there wondering, and she's kind of flustered. So I'm kind of looking back at it. I'm surprised that I didn't get loud, that I didn't like holler over to the nurse, and that I didn't freak out. I think that part of it is that I was like, felt a little bad that maybe I had distracted her, that maybe my conversation, I'm a talkative person at the clinic when my blood pressure is up. I'm not when my blood pressure is down. I'm very night and day. Very clear, either leave me alone or I'll talk your ear off. So I kind of felt a little bad about that, as well as we're always understaffed. So I kind of feel like that's my family down there. I'm not trying to get any techs or nurses fired necessarily, but at the same time, kind of wondering if I'm about to die, you know? So like I asked her, like, you think I'm about to die? Like, and she couldn't respond. And I asked her again, I think I asked something about, do you know how much air it takes to kill somebody? And she just couldn't respond the whole time. I think I've made a couple other comments about her being a phlebotomist and that she was better than a couple other techs. Probably really didn't deal with it as well as I could. And thinking about it, I'm not normally, I guess, passive aggressive, but that's kind of how it came out at that time. And she quit shortly after that and moved on. And she definitely, like, you could tell it. I mean, I'm sure it was a very traumatizing experience for her too. You know, she probably just didn't have any answers. Couldn't say anything back. She probably had no idea how much air it takes or what or not. Since then, I've learned that actually it takes quite a lot of air. I don't know how much, but quite a lot. Foamy blood is a bit more of a concern, but I can definitely tell you that this much air, well, it didn't kill me. I can't say that it won't necessarily. Probably won't, because it didn't, but I don't want to find out again, that's for sure. Yeah. So, I think that's my scariest experience in the clinic. Got a couple interesting experiences in the hospital. But none that I actually was wondering if I was about to die. Not like that. So, yeah, what do you guys, there's some horror stories out there, I'm sure. I don't know if I want to ask that question, actually. I was going to say if anybody wanted to chime in and share theirs, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's some horror stories, I'm sure. But I'm sharing mine, so you might as well share yours if you feel like it.